Hi, welcome to another special edition of Ask Andy Anything, binges for Gen Z. And if you saw my previous video, it was binges for millennials about millennials. So of course this is going to be binges for Gen Z about Gen Z. Netflix drops binges for Gen Z just about every other day. And so I've decided just to choose my 7 favorite, and just about every single one of them has 2 seasons. So they're quick and easy binges, and most of them will be coming back for a 3rd season. Now, quite possibly the most Gen Z of the Gen Z shows is Euphoria. Now, this is on HBO. And for those of you that stream, HBO Go, as of last month, it has gone. So you would need to watch it on HBO Max. This stars the future Cher or Madonna, because she goes by one name, and that's Zendaya. If you're a Gen Z, you know her from Shake It Up. And if you're a Gen X parent like myself, then that's how I know her. And of course, she was in both the new Spider-Man movies. And one of my favorite things that came out of that Spider-Man relationship between Zendaya and Tom Holland was the lip sync battle. She did amazing, but I have to say Tom Holland killed it. I'm sure all of you Gen Zs have seen that video. Either way, I'm going to link it in the notes below. So in Euphoria, Zendaya plays Rue, who is the star of the show, and everything's really based around her. All the other characters kind of bounce off of her. And she's someone that at a young age has been diagnosed with a lot of different disorders, and so she takes a bunch of different pills. I guess what she's really trying to find, and probably the title of the series, Euphoria, that's something that people typically get from ecstasy, MDMA, but I don't want to get you guys all involved in that. I'm just saying. And so this show is really heavy drug, sex, drinking, just about everything that your parents wouldn't want you to see in a show. And it's really good for parents of Gen Z because it kind of gives you an insight into just how crazy, and I know this is just a series, I know that this isn't supposed to be reality, but the stuff that my kids keep on doing that I find out about later, I wouldn't be surprised if all this was true. And on a side note, one of my friend's daughters has a reoccurring role on Euphoria, so obviously I want to get y'all to watch it. One of the people that stood out to me the most, Jacob Elordi, who plays Nate Jacobs in the series, and you know him from Kissing Booth 1 and 2. I never saw Kissing Booth 1, I saw Kissing Booth 2, a little bit of it, as much as I could stand the other day, and his character is very, very different than the one he plays in Euphoria. In Euphoria, you know, usually in the series and in movies, it's the dumb jock, but this guy is the very diabolical and very smart. If you've ever seen Pretty in Pink, he would be like the James Spader character, the guy that has it all, as well as superior intelligence. And something that I've noticed in quite a few of these Gen Z shows, at least one other that I'm going to talk about, is about a transgender. So that's something that, for me as a Gen Xer, that was never a thing. Even someone that was gay back when I was in high school was earth-shattering. There's always been people that felt that they were a boy in a girl's body or a girl in a boy's body. It's only this generation that it's being accepted for you to be who you want to be. Because I can tell you one thing, after I graduated from college, found out that several of my fraternity brothers came out of the closet. It's always been there, but now it's more accepted to come out. And if you're a Gen Z, you know this, but if you're a Gen X or a Boomer, I don't know why a Boomer would be watching this show. So Hunter Schafer, who plays Jules, it's a game that I play with myself. Try to guess who's the transgender. And there was just a vibe that I got. She's very attractive. I don't know what it was. She told me to look her up, and then I looked her up and found out she used to be a he. And then there's Barbie Ferreira. You may know her as a plus-size model. And one of the great things about this is just somebody really showing it, who's supposed to be 15, 16 years old, being okay with their body. My generation, the Gen Xers, a lot of body shaming. And if you watch my last video, I body shamed. Well, it wasn't so much for body shaming Lena Dunham in girls, but it was just the fact that she was just showing so much nudity that I felt she needed to be shamed. Then I was also talking about, in my millennial binging, Iris Apatow, one of Judd Apatow's daughters, had a small role in the series Love on Netflix. Her older sister, Maud Apatow, has a pretty good sized role in this show, so it was just funny that here I was talking about her sister yesterday, and today I'm talking about her. Talent doesn't fall far from the tree in that family. And Judd Apatow, in case you don't know, is married to a great Gen X actress, Leslie Mann. I don't know if it's because I'm a parent of teenagers It's just one that I was glued to, and all the actors are strong in it. It's very uncomfortable, some of the things. I guess how little some of the characters in the show care about other people. You can really feel the social media aspects of the Gen Z's life, the Instagram famous. I'm looking down at the list of the 7 series that I've chosen to discuss on this episode. There's no way I would have ever been able to see one of these things as a teenager, or at least not till I was 18 years old. And this is in no particular order. The second, you have The Politician, which has 2 seasons so far, which is on Netflix. And of course, it stars Ben Platt. And I first saw Ben Platt in the first Pitch Perfect. You can see he was an amazing singer and became the star of Dear Evan Hansen, the Broadway musical. And also Laura Dreyfus, who plays another student at the high school that Platt's character goes to. She plays his sister in Dear Evan Hansen. And so there's a guy named Theo Germain, another one of the students at the school. Something about his hips just looked really wide, just looked like this was probably once a female. So, of course, I looked it up, and yes, that was the fact. So just like in Euphoria, a guy became a girl, well, in real life, but one of the actors. And in The Politician, you have a girl that became a guy. Neither here nor there, but again, for my generation, it's just something that blows my mind every single time. And I called it. I was able to find out, so I was pretty proud of myself. Although my 15-year-old daughter just rolls her eyes when she's sitting next to me, and I'm like, that was a dude, or that was a girl. So anyway, Gen X, not PC whatsoever. If you're a Gen Z listening to this, you already know about this show. So I think I'm mostly speaking to your parents. The Politician takes place at a wealthy high school in Santa Barbara, and Ben Platt, as well as several other students, are competing to become the president of the school. And of course, he wants to go on and go to Harvard and become president there, and eventually become the president of the United States. So the first season deals with his run for president in high school, and then the second season, once he's in college. It is a totally PC show in the sense of the characters. They have characters that have physical disabilities, lesbians, homosexuals, people on the down low. Basically, you got it all. Everything that we never had when I was growing up. Then Gwyneth Paltrow, another Gen Xer, she plays Ben Platt's mom. And finally, a big shout out to Jessica Lange. She plays the mother of another student who may or may not have a deathly illness. You would know her from American Horror Story. She is in just about every season of that. She's a boomer. She's mostly known for back in the day playing the love interest to King Kong in the 1976 remake of King Kong. All right, number 3, The End of the Effing World, which has had 2 seasons so far, and that is also on Netflix. So this one, very quick episodes, very, very dark English humor, and not too much to talk about as far as the actors because you're really not going to know them. You might know the star, Alex Lothar, from the Shut Up and Dance episode of Black Mirror. And if you haven't seen it, that episode, I highly recommend it. Anyway, him and the actor Jessica Bardin, they play 2 disaffected high school students that decide to run off, kind of like Bonnie and Clyde sort. He's a depressed young man, and she's a femme fatale. And it's one I can't even explain other than kind of gives a vibe of Badlands, which you may not know about this if you're Gen Z. I mean, based on a true story about a guy and a much younger girl who drive around the Midwest on a murder spree. Other movies like that, California with a K, that's a Brad Pitt film. And they always seem to be remaking this type of a film. And you're not really sure how you should feel about these characters. They're both anti-heroes in the biggest sense of the word. Oh, and I forgot Natural Born Killers. That was another one of those guy and girl driving around killing people. And there's a movie that came out last year called Queen and Slim, which is in that same vein of Bonnie and Clyde type characters. Then we move on to yet another English series. And this could have easily been an American series. All the characters are very familiar. The vibe is similar to Euphoria, except I would say the kids aren't as cruel. In Euphoria, they seem to be all-knowing. But in sex ed, yes, you have the people that come across as knowing and all, but most of them are just really confused young kids. And it stars Aisha Butterfield, who you know from Ender's Game, and he plays the son of a sex therapist mother. The mother's played by Gillian Anderson, which the Gen Xers would know her from The X-Files. Brilliant in this. As a matter of fact, her hair is bleached blonde, and she has a perfect English accent. So I had no idea that was the same Gillian Anderson from The X-Files, who is in fact American. All the time we have people from England and Australia, etc., playing Americans. this is one of the few times that an American plays somebody who's English. And I guess she's been living over in England. It's probably helped with her being able to pick up a accent that doesn't sound fake to English people. Aisha Butterfield's character reminds me of Anton Yelchin in the movie from 2007, Charlie Bartlett. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you do. And unfortunately, for those of you know, Anton Yelchin was tragically killed about 3 years ago when he was opening up the gate to leave his house, and his car rolled back and crushed him against the gate. The similarities is that in Charlie Bartlett, a guy that doesn't really fit in, kind of a nerdy guy, and he does therapy for kids. Aisha Butterfield in this does sex therapy for kids, and he's a total virgin. He's very, very uncomfortable, but he's very smart, and so he's picked up a lot from his mom, who does her sex therapist sessions at their house. The dynamic between Aisha, who plays Otis, and his mother, the Gillian Anderson character. It's a type of relationship with your parents or with your mother you'd never want to have as a kid, that is. And then they have a black actor named Kendar Williams, who in this series, he's got lesbian mothers. One's black and one's white, and he's a swimmer. And what was interesting is, I didn't know they did this in England, and maybe they don't. Maybe they want to Americanize it, but he's walking around always wearing a leather jacket. And what's unique about this, in most films or series, the main sport would be, in America, it'd be soccer or football or field hockey. And in England, it would be soccer or cricket or rugby. The guy who's supposed to be the school's top athlete being a swimmer definitely stood out as unique to me. And this is just another high school coming of age show. And like I said, it's like Euphoria, but it's the PG rated. It's not actually one of the very first scenes is some relatively graphic sex scene. Here's how the characters treat each other is a little bit softer than Euphoria. I want to shout out to as well is Emma McKay, who plays Maeve. She's like right out of a John Hughes film, but she doesn't really fit in. She's very dark. She's kind of got the gothic look. She's from the wrong side of the tracks, but she's very intelligent. And her and Aisha Butterfield are polar opposites, so it's really great the way that their dynamic works together. Number 5, we have American Vandal, which is 2 seasons as well. Not much to say about this, except it's a mockumentary that really makes fun of making a murderer and the documentaries that have come out in recent years, where you have all these talking heads trying to solve a murder type thing that, of course, the police couldn't figure out. So in this one, it's students trying to figure out who painted penises on the faculty's cars at the school parking lot. It kind of reminds me of The Politician. It's one of the upper middle class schools. Most of the characters, you might know him from Disney or Nickelodeon shows. Callum Worthy from Austin and Ally. He's got a big part. Griffin Gluck, and he was in Tall Girl. He's the guy that always has to stand on the upside down crate to be the same height as his friend in Tall Girl. I'm sure that's another one that these shows, American Vandal. If you're Gen Z, you've seen this, so talking to your parents, it's in the vein of Waiting for Guffman and This is Spinal Tap and all of those mockumentary type things, but done with kids. Then at number 6, we have Hannah, which is 2 seasons so far, and this is based on the movie from 2011 with Saoirse Ronan and Eric Bana, and the star of it is Esme Creed Miles. She hasn't really been in too much, but her mother, for you Gen Xers, is Samantha Morton, who plays Alpha on the Walking Dead series. No one probably watches that anymore, and I don't think she came into like the 8th season or something like that. I stopped watching it as well. I know Samantha Morton from just seeing her in the past. I didn't even know that she was English, and so her daughter is English as well. And if you've seen the movie Hannah, this is about a girl that's raised by her father in the wilderness to basically be an assassin. And the movie's great, but the series is even better because you really get to spend more time with these characters. And the main nemesis in season 1, Marielle Enos, her and Joel Kinnaman, who plays Hannah's father, they both were in the series called The Killing from several years ago. So it's fun to see them back in different roles. And the relationship between Hannah and her father, Eric Heller, reminds me of the 2018 film Leave No Trace, starring Ben Foster and Thomasin McKenzie. And I just saw Thomasin McKenzie last night in Jojo Rabbit, and I actually got her mixed up with Esme Creed Miles. They have very similar bone structure, and their look is fairly similar. And just on a side note, I was talking about Anton Yelchin. Him and Ben Foster were in a movie. Didn't get great reviews, but I really enjoyed it, based on the true story of a drug deal that goes bad in the West Hills area of North Los Angeles called Alpha Dog. But that's for another time. Anyway, getting back to Hannah. I don't want to give too much away But if you've seen the movie, then I don't need to say anything more. The performance by Esme Creed Miles, just the physicality and how this girl is very small. Well, I mean, she's 5'5", but she's pretty thin. What a badass she is. She's super impressive and just kept me captivated throughout. If you like action, adventure, drama, and just girl power, then I highly recommend it. Noticing a theme here throughout these 6 different series that I've mentioned so far. We talk about female power. So you've got the kick-ass Hannah. In sex ed, you have Mauve, who I told you about, and she's a badass. End of the effing world, Alyssa, a co-star of that series, she's a badass. And then the politician, a lot of different girls in that are all strong female characters. And Euphoria, of course, you have, besides Zendaya, you have several other very strong female characters. So for Gen Z girls, you have a lot going for you. Not Molly Ringwald. And finally is Cobra Kai, and that's had 2 seasons so far. This is based on the 1984 super hit film, The Karate Kid, not the one with Jaden Smith, which takes place in China. He was trained by Jackie Chan, which would be the Kung Fu Kid, so it's not even the right country, the right martial art. But anyway, I digress, as per usual. And in Cobra Kai, it's where Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio, and Johnny Lawrence, played by William Zabka, meet back up as adults. So they're basically about 50 years old. They're Gen Xers. And it just picks up like 30 years after Daniel LaRusso wins the title in the All Valley Karate Championship. This is the ultimate Gen X movie, this one and The Breakfast Club, and you can stay tuned for that. My next episode is going to be on the best Gen X series to binge. But the funny thing is, in The Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso was the hero, and Johnny Lawrence was the villain. In this, neither one of them has the high ground. They're both flawed characters. They both have some good, and they both have some bad. It does get kind of dark towards the end of season 2, but it's a lot of fun. You may not have seen this one because it was on YouTube, unless you did what I did, and you got the 1 or 2 week trial and just binged the whole thing, which I did both seasons. And because probably everybody did that, it's no longer on the YouTube channel, so season 3 will be on Netflix, and so all 3 seasons will be on Netflix. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be coming out relatively soon. And Mary Mauser is also in this. You might know her from Frenemies, and she plays Daniel LaRusso's daughter. The other thing is, before you watch this series, I'm going to post a video in the notes below, which is about 5 years ago. A guy did a video saying that Daniel is a real bully, about 5 minutes long, and it's freaking hilarious. And it just goes through detailing why Johnny Lawrence is the hero and Daniel LaRusso is the actual villain. So watch that before you see Cobra Kai, and it'll help color watching Cobra Kai. So anyway, if you've already seen these shows or any of these shows, I'd love to hear your thought. So please comment below and engage me. And if you like what I've had to say, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content, more great free content like this. And stay tuned for next time. And you can go into the playlist and catch the Millennial Movies for Millennials that I did last night, and be on the lookout for tomorrow night, Gen X series for Gen Xers. Thank you.